Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast. You're listening to the next episode. Today, we're going to take a look at what it means to start, run, and grow a business. We're going to talk some successes, some failures, and some stories. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Jenn Lisak Golding. Thanks, Jen. Welcome to this show.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, listen, you and I have known each other for quite a while. As I pointed out before, I mispronounced your name before we jumped on, and
All good.
all right. But why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes, introduce yourself to everybody, and then we'll talk about your business.
Absolutely. So Jenn Lisak Golding, I have been in marketing for over 15 years now, working almost exclusively in marketing agencies, and I decided to start my own about 8 years ago. Beyond that, I am also a certified Enneagram coach. I'm very passionate about emotional intelligence and learning more about yourself to better yourself and work on your personal and professional growth journey. And then on the personal side, I just I just really enjoy reading. I enjoy spending time with friends and family, and just really trying to. A couple years ago, I just started asking myself the question, am I going to remember this in 20 years? And when an opportunity presents itself and I ask myself that question, saying yes to that question, would it make sense? So I'm trying to have a good balance of work and life and just, you know, live life to the fullest.
Yeah, that's so Steve Sanner, who was a couple episodes ago, he had a family motto of find a way to say yes. So
I
he's
like
like,
that.
I don't care what you ask me, I'm going to try to find a way to say yes to it. So I
I
thought
like
that
that.
was interesting.
Yeah,
So let's start with Sapphire. Um,
sure.
how, why did you start the business?
Well, transparently, so I had been working at an agency prior, and I had a really great relationship with, he was my boss, mentor, then turned pseudo business partner. And it just had come kind of to a head where we realized I loved learning from him. I loved working with him. But ultimately, we kind of both came to the conclusion that we were running two different businesses and had two different goals, and we very amicably split up and I decided to pursue my own business. But it was an interesting time because so in November of 2016, my soon to be husband and I bought a house. I had no idea I was going to start the business, and we were going to get married the following September. So, all of it kind of came to ahead in January, and I kind of looked at him. We weren't married yet. It was an expensive year. Um, and I was like, well, I could go work corporate, probably make more money, work less, and be absolutely miserable, or I could go start my own thing, work more, make less, and feel really good about it. And I had already known it at that point, but I knew it, that he was meant to be my husband when he said, well, you know what you have to do. And so he was fully supportive. So within less than 9 months, we bought a house, started a business. I turned 30 and we got married. So it was, it was an interesting ride, but it was definitely one of the best years of my life.
So
So,
walk me through the logical process of explaining to somebody that you could go work for a corporate gig, make
mhm.
more and work less, but be miserable versus doing it your own way, make less, work more, and be happy.
Yeah.
How walk me through that process.
Yeah. So I grew up in so my dad was an entrepreneur, and then my mom was in the academia industry. Both super successful, but I saw the red tape that my mom had to deal with a lot of the time. And um, for me, I'm very people focused, whether that's my team, my clients, community, and I just I know I could. I know that I can shapeshift and make it work in a corporate environment, but it's not even about the red tape. It's more, what is the common mission and goal? And yes, if you're in a business, you want to make money, right? But I have goals beyond that and a vision beyond that. And for me, I didn't think I could make the impact in a corporate environment that I could on my own. And I wasn't sure that I was going to be given the opportunity to cultivate or mentor others in the way that I was offered if I went into that environment. So, I mean, I won't lie, the first 3 years of the business were really difficult. I had challenges with being a workaholic and not taking care of myself, but I was very lucky that I had people who, one, supported me and helped me pull out of it, and two, as part of my emotional intelligence work, I really just had to be introspective and look at myself and be like, okay, what are you doing? What are the lies you're telling yourself? Like, you're telling yourself you don't have time to work out. You're telling yourself you don't have time to sleep. That's a lie. You're lying to yourself. So I had to revisit, um, you know, the it 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 was just a really good time for me to be introspective and, pull myself out of that as well.
So it's interesting. So you started the business in January of 2017,
Yes, yes,
and you said the first 3 years were really hard.
they were.
And then in
Um,
January 2020, we had COVID, and you're trying to tell me that your business got easier then.
it did. Um, so I know, but so I I'm not sure if it's a secret weapon or not, but I've always set up my business. Um, I had an employee within the first 2 months of working, and then I had three by the first year. So I was quickly growing. But I've always had the rule, work when you want, where you want, as long as you get the work done. Now, that very much relies on self starters. And, I had to do my own diligence to make sure I was hiring the right people. But after 3 years, I had kind of figured out, okay, here's our bread and butter. I created what I call the red flags list, which I know you'll appreciate from a sales perspective. Like, what are the red flags that I'm checking as I'm having this discovery call in terms of who I want to work with and who I don't, if we're going to have alignment. And then, just giving people autonomy like, they still have responsibilities and still need to show up to work and do what they got to do, but happier team members meant happier team environment, meant more productive environment. So by the time COVID came around, when, a lot of companies were freaking out, oh, we got to go home, like, my people were already home. I was working in an office and they could come in whenever they wanted, but we already had that under control, because we were used to working whenever and wherever we wanted as long as the work got done.
Yeah. That is, I think one of the things that people, so you already covered 2 things, right? The first one is, I knew I was getting in for more work and less money, but I wanted the right feeling. The second thing that you really covered is, I was more worried about my people. Now, you've covered that like 3 different ways,
Yeah.
but when you're worried about the people and you take care of them, it's amazing that you can survive even COVID, like, and not the
Yeah.
disease COVID, but the response to COVID that the government imposed on us. So let's talk about your passion for just general marketing stuff and the things that you do. How important is that to you?
It's really important. I I look at marketing, I mean, sales and marketing are, same coin, different side, right? Um, to me, we talk about the mission is to help companies optimize their marketing. But the vision is really to impact economies, right? Like, we want our clients to grow, we want them to make more money, be able to hire more people. So for me, marketing is everything, from a brand awareness to making inbound or creating inbound leads to, getting, and then on our nonprofit side, we have nonprofit clients, attracting more donors and attracting more volunteers. So to me, like, marketing is, yes, it's ultimately want to lead it to more money, but ultimately leading to more engagement as a whole. There is a community aspect to that, and I've been happy to say, so and people kind of call me crazy that I share this, but I don't really care. We I think something that has proven that we're doing something right. Number one, 40% of our clients have been with us for 5 years or more. Number two, as an agency, I find this really strange because most agencies that I talk to are more 65-35. 92% of our revenue is recurring. I mean, we do have projects, we take on projects, we like projects, but the fact that 92 as of right now, 92% of our revenue is recurring, like, that just speaks to our relationship-based model, and the fact that, yes, long it's kinda like an IRA, right? The more you put into it over time, the more it's going to compound, the better off we'll be. So, for me, it's a long-term impact, and I really try to find clients where we're gonna be partners, not vendors. We really wanna be a partner. We're not just there to do the things, we're there to guide you along the way, and a lot of clients are also we're clients of theirs. For example, we have an IT company that we support. We're a client of theirs. And then we have nonprofits where I'm on the board or my team members volunteer all the time. So it's a reciprocal relationship, and that's really important to me, and, the marketing just helps bring it all together, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So if you go back to 2017, um, what are some things that you wish you knew that would have made your life easier?
I wish I would've gone through some HR training. Um, People management is don't get me wrong, I love having a team, I love leading a team, but there are things that I did not know that I wish I would have known, going into it, especially as it surrounds conflict resolution. I wish I would have known that. I wish I would have known I will say that respectfully, I make conservative financial decisions for the business because I've been in the position where I was owed back pay and different things, and I never wanted to put my people in that position. That being said, I I'm all about calculated risk, but I think there's times where I really needed to err more on the side of being less risk averse. And I rely a lot on my intuition, but I've found that relying on I see the gut and intuition as two different things, that my gut has led me um, better than my intuition sometimes. And so listening to the gut is really important. And then number three, I just wish um, I would have started meeting with other agency owners sooner. I'm very much co-opetition, not competition. I think there's plenty of business to go around. But, something that keeps me sane is I meet with a group of women business owners, who also have agencies or consultancies, and I meet with them at least once a quarter, if not more, and that's just kept me sane because I feel like a lot of times we think we're the only ones dealing with the things that we're dealing with, and we're not. So I wish I would have started that sooner. I think those are the 3 major things that I would have liked to know beforehand.
So when you started, so this is episode whatever 130 something. But when you started, uh, there are three things that people say they should have had. One is, did you have a plan for your first year? Did you have a strategic business plan?
I did. I had to because I got a loan to start the business.
So you got a loan.
So
Okay. So did you have that's the second is people are like, oh, you should have a strategic plan. You should have 6 month savings. Did you have that also?
I did not, but I hit my MRR goal within 4 months.
Okay.
So so
All right.
I hustled a little bit.
You hustled, you did well right off the bat. Now it's interesting that you had a loan to start the business. That is actually a more mature financial model than pretty much anybody else I've talked to.
Really.
Yeah,
It
which
was
is
it w Sorry, go ahead.
no, which is a testament to your foresight there. So good job.
Well, to be fair, it was a family loan, but it was still I knew that I didn't want to go into marriage being in debt. Um, and I also knew that even though we're married, there still needs to be some compartmentalization between the business finances, the personal finances.
Yes.
So for me, it was protection not only of the business, but of our marriage and not going into debt right away.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sure this happens, but when business owners come to you or when people come to you and they say, "Hey, I work for big megacorp and I'm thinking
Mhm.
about starting my own gig."
Yeah.
How do you handle that conversation? Where do you take that?
Yeah, it's a question I get asked a lot, so I appreciate being asked it. The biggest thing they're afraid of is, especially if they're coming from corporate, we already know they're well paid and they have great benefits. I'm like, You have to, if you want to start your own thing, number one, you already have the knowledge, right? You wouldn't be doing well in corporate if you didn't have the knowledge, right? So
Right.
you have to trust that. But what you have to get comfortable with is being uncomfortable, which is not living to your standard of living that you're used to. And like for the first 3 years of the business, I definitely was not living to my standard, but I was okay with that, right? Because it was my own and I could still do fun things, but I was, cut back. So I think like that's typically the number one fear that I hear. They're like, "Oh, what if I don't get it right away?" And I just kind of reinforce for them, one, you have the knowledge. Two, you have the connections. Like, just look at your LinkedIn network because half the time these people have, thousands of LinkedIn connections or followers. I'm like, I wouldn't worry about that. What I would worry about is you have to, if you're going to commit to this decision, you have to change your life. This is not hey, I'm going to go in this and make 175K a year. You're not going to. You have to, you might at some point, I'm not saying that's not possible. It's definitely possible, but at least the first 2 or 3 years, be prepared that that's not going to happen. Or if you need that, then you have to be prepared, "Okay, this is what I wanna make, but I have to sell this much to make that happen," right? But I tend to take, let's start smaller in scale than start where you wanna be and try to overreach. And then the other side of it is, like, in corporate, red tape can be difficult, but there is some safety in it in the sense that there's people who are telling you what the guardrails are. When you
Yes.
start your own business, you're creating the guardrails. So you have to be very confident and um, clear on what your guardrails are going to be and how you're going to operate your business. And it's not just the how and the what, it's the why. Like, what are your core values? Who are you going to work with? Who are you not going to work with? And figuring out really quickly um, what a good target group is for you. Because I made some mistakes early on, and I figured it out really quickly. I would say by year and a half, like I knew exactly who I did want to work with and could serve. Um, but I think sometimes, again, like the dollar signs can be tempting if there's a big contract on the table. But to me, the cost of sanity is not worth the benefit of revenue. Like, I've learned that time and time again, and luckily I haven't made one of those mistakes in a while. But yeah, cost of sanity is not worth the benefit of revenue if it's not a good alignment.
Yeah. It is the key to being successful in small business is being clear on what you're going to say no to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So, any other advice that you would give somebody who is a new or aspiring business owner?
I would, I mean, I probably sound a little bit like a broken record, but on the emotional intelligence side, I would definitely learn who you are as much as possible, whether that's through Enneagram, Strengths Finders, DISC, whatever it might be. I would learn as much about yourself as you can, because when I went through the Enneagram process, I understood my core motivation in life, and therefore I understood why I had certain behaviors. And therefore I could understand, okay, this is a healthy behavior, this is an average behavior, this is an unhealthy behavior. And if I'm continuing to do unhealthy behaviors, then what do I need to change either internally or externally to stop it? Because, you know, it's true. The health of the business owner drastically impacts the health of the team, or and correspondingly family and all that, right? So the more you know about yourself, and the more you can self-identify, okay, I'm doing this and it's hurting myself or others, whatever it might be. I think the better off, the more successful you'll be as a business owner.
So it's interesting to hear you talk through all these things because you've talked about the importance of other people, you've talked about the importance of connecting to other business owners, you've talked about the importance of self-awareness. Um, y it's we've been on for 20 minutes, and if
Yeah,
people just took those 3 lessons, I think it accelerates their first year in their business. Like, take care of your
yeah,
people, find other business owners that will help you, and there are plenty out there. And then, oh, by the way, be aware of what's going on with you yourself because, that's gonna impact you. And while you do the Enneagram, there's a variety of tools. Just pick
absolutely.
one, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
yeah,
Just pick one. So,
absolutely.
all right. Well, with that being a quick 21 minutes, I wanna wrap up a little bit. I wanna remind everybody listening that they're gonna be able to find information about Jen, your business, and other ways to contact you at the show notes and Default Profitable. And if you're listening, you can help us by subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing an episode. Jen, thanks for being a great guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. Good to see you again.
Yep, good to see you. And for everybody listening, we'll be back next week with another episode of Default Profitable. Till then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.